You know that moment. You're sitting right next to them. Same couch, same room, same person you love. And somehow you feel more alone than if they had just left. Their phone is in their hand. Their body is there. Their presence isn't. You ask a simple question like, "Are we okay?" And they let out that little sigh. Not loud, not dramatic, just distant enough to make your chest tighten. Then they say something like, "I don't know why everything has to turn into this." And that's when it hits you. This isn't about tonight. It's about the last few weeks. The slower replies, the softened affection, the way every honest conversation somehow makes you feel needy for even bringing it up. And in your head, it sounds like this. Why do I always end up here? Am I asking for too much? Why do they only care when I start pulling away? Do they love me or just like having me there? Am I the problem? But here's the truth that flips everything. An avoidant doesn't lose respect for you because you have needs. They lose respect when they learn that your needs have no boundary. Read that again, because that changes the whole game. You are not too much. You are not failing at love. And this is not proof that you chose the wrong person. Every person who has ever loved deeply and started abandoning themselves to keep that love alive has stood exactly where you're standing. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand the one boundary that stops the chase-withdraw cycle cold, why it hits avoidant patterns so hard, and how to hold it in a way that makes you feel powerful, calm, and deeply self-respecting. Let's get into it. Most couples believe a boundary is something you use to control the other person. But the real truth is a boundary is what you stop doing to yourself in the presence of someone who won't meet you halfway. That's the part most people miss, especially when they're dealing with an avoidant partner. Because when you're anxious, confused, or longing for connection, your nervous system starts treating distance like danger. You don't just want reassurance, you need relief. So you reach, you explain, you over-clarify, you try to say it better, softer, calmer, smarter. You think if you can just find the right words, you can finally unlock them. But here's what nobody explains. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. So what feels like, "I'm trying to fix this inside you," can feel like pressure inside them. What feels like love to you can land like intrusion to them. And what looks like stonewalling from them is often someone who has been so emotionally overwhelmed for so long that silence has become their only form of protection. That doesn't make it healthy, but it does make it predictable. This is the anxious avoidant cycle. One person reaches for connection to feel safe. The other reaches for distance to feel safe. Both people are reacting to threat. Both people are hurting. Both people usually want love. But they are trying to access it through opposite doors. And the avoidant ego people talk about? Honestly, it's usually not arrogance. It's protection. It's the part of them that says, "I need to stay in control. I need to stay unneedy. I need to make sure no one can affect me that much." So when you keep chasing them after they withdraw, it quietly confirms their deepest defensive belief. I can pull away, give less, avoid vulnerability, and they'll still stay available to me. That is the ego your boundary breaks. Not by punishing them, not by humiliating them, not by playing games, but by calmly ending the pattern where they get full emotional access to you without emotional responsibility. And here's what changes everything. The boundary is this: I want connection with you, but I will not chase, overfunction, or stay fully available to someone who keeps withdrawing from honest intimacy. That's the boundary. Simple, clean, real. Not coldness, not revenge, not playing hard to get, but self-respect with warmth still intact. And once you understand that, every shift we're about to talk about starts making sense. Stop chasing what keeps moving. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples think more effort creates more connection. So when one partner goes emotionally withdrawn, the other partner starts doubling down. More texts, more explanations, more emotional labor, more trying to get back to normal. But the deeper truth is this. When an avoidant person is deactivating, pursuit often feels like pressure, not love. And when your nervous system feels abandoned, distance feels unbearable, not reasonable. So you chase harder. They pull further. And suddenly, the relationship feels like a hallway, where both of you are running in opposite directions while still calling it love. It's brutal. And it's common. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Can you please just talk to me? Why are you doing this again? I'm literally trying to fix this. Why do you always shut down when things get real? The connecting, boundary-led version sounds like this. I care about us. I'm open to a real conversation. But I'm not going to keep chasing one that you're refusing to have. When you're ready to show up clearly, I'm here.
Feel the difference. One is panic, one is presence. And when you do that, you stop feeding the cycle that taught them your love could always be accessed through your self-abandonment. Access without presence is over. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples let emotional inconsistency slide because they're still holding on to chemistry, history, or potential. So the avoidant partner goes distant, disappears for a day, comes back with charm, affection, or a half explanation, and the relationship resumes like nothing happened. But here's the deeper truth. Respect leaves a relationship when access stays available, no matter how someone behaves. If they can withdraw, go vague, avoid repair, and still get your warmth, your body, your attention, your loyalty, and your emotional energy, then nothing inside the pattern has to change. Their nervous system quietly learns, I can disconnect and still keep the bond on standby. And your nervous system quietly learns, if I stay sweet enough, maybe they won't leave for good. That is not connection. That is conditioning. The disconnecting version sounds like this. They pull away all week, then text at 11:48 p.m., "You up?" And you say, "Yeah, of course, I missed you." The connecting version sounds like this. I'm not interested in acting close after days of distance with no conversation. If you want to reconnect, let's do it honestly. That lands differently, because it's clear, calm, adult. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like a place where your heart is always open, but never really held. Space needs a container. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most couples hear "I need space" and immediately split into two extremes. One person panics and protests. The other person disappears into vagueness. So space becomes this foggy, emotional no man's land where one person is spiraling and the other person is avoiding accountability. But the real truth is healthy space has structure. Unhealthy space has ambiguity. And ambiguity is where anxious attachment bleeds out. Your nervous system is like a smoke detector, man. It cannot tell the difference between my partner needs one evening to regulate and I'm about to be slowly abandoned. It just hears danger and sounds the alarm. That's why your boundary matters, because space is fine.
Undefined emotional exile is not. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Them. I need space. You. Okay, take all the time you need. And then you spend the next 48 hours checking your phone like your peace lives inside their typing bubble. The connecting version sounds like this. Them. I need space. You. Okay, take tonight. But I'm not doing open-ended distance. Let's reconnect tomorrow evening and talk clearly. Not tighter control. Not more emotional intensity. Not begging for reassurance. But clarity that protects your nervous system while still honoring theirs. And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down, because the relationship stops feeling like a place where one person gets to vanish and call it communication. Say less. Mean more. But here's what nobody explains. Most people in relationships think if they just explain their pain well enough, the other person will finally understand it. So they give the full timeline, the whole emotional essay, every detail, every example, every ache beneath the surface. And honestly, I get it. You want to be known. But when someone is avoidant and flooded, too many words can feel like being cornered. Not because your feelings are wrong, not because you're too much, but because their nervous system is already bracing for impact. So the more you pour out, the more they go numb. It's like trying to fill a cracked cup faster because it keeps leaking. You're using more love, but the structure still can't hold it. The disconnecting version sounds like this. When you didn't call me back, and then you liked that post, and then yesterday you said you were tired, and then last month the same thing happened, and it always makes me feel like I'm the only one trying. The connecting version sounds like this. When you go distant instead of communicating, I feel unsafe in this relationship. I'm not available for that pattern anymore. That lands differently, because it's clean. Something in them quietly registers, there's nowhere to hide in this conversation, but I'm not being attacked either. And something in you shifts too. You stop auditioning your pain for understanding and start honoring it with clarity. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a courtroom into one that at least has a chance of becoming real. Consequences matter more than warnings. And here's what changes everything. Most couples use boundaries like emotional speeches. They announce them in the heat of the moment. They make them loud. They make them dramatic. And then they don't follow through. So the other person learns that the protest is real, but the consequence isn't. That kills respect fast, because inconsistency always does. The deeper truth is this. Avoidant patterns often don't change when they hear your pain. They change when they feel the loss of unearned access. Not because they're heartless, but because patterns become visible when they finally cost something. That's when their inner monologue starts sounding like, wait, she didn't chase me this time. Or, he still cares, but he's not collapsing into me anymore. That's the moment the ego cracks, because the old script stops working. The disconnecting version sounds like this. If you do this again, I'm done. Seriously, I mean it this time. And then 2 days later, you're back in the same rhythm, because the fear of losing them is louder than the pain of staying the same. The connecting version sounds like this. I want a relationship with repair, not repeated withdrawal. If this happens again, I'm going to step back from this connection. Not to punish you, to protect myself. And then if it happens again, you actually step back. Not louder conversations, not more compromising, not one more perfectly worded paragraph, but a calm consequence that tells the truth with your actions. And when you do that, your partner stops feeling like someone you have to convince and starts facing the reality of what your absence actually means. Name the pattern, not the person. This is where a lot of people lose themselves. Most couples attack identity when they're actually hurting from a pattern. So instead of naming what keeps happening, they go for character. You're cold.
You're selfish. You never care. You're impossible to love. And once shame enters the room, repair usually leaves through the back door. Because shame hardens people. Awareness opens them. The deeper truth is this. An avoidant person often already carries the unspoken fear, if you really need me, I will fail you. So when your pain turns into a total indictment of who they are, they don't feel invited into intimacy. They feel confirmed in their worst self-story. Then they shut down harder. They detach faster. They go further behind the walls. The disconnecting version sounds like this. You're emotionally unavailable. You always run. You don't know how to love anyone. The connecting version sounds like this. When things get intimate, I notice you pull back, and I start reaching harder. That cycle is hurting both of us. I'm not willing to keep doing it. Do you hear it? That's not softer truth. It's smarter truth. Her brain quietly registers. He sees the pattern, not just my flaw. His mind starts to register. She's not trying to win. She's trying to understand what keeps happening. That doesn't guarantee change, but it makes honesty possible in a way accusation never will. And when you do that, your partner stops feeling like a problem to diagnose and starts feeling like a person you can actually meet again. Stay warm. Don't stay available for half love. And this is the final piece. Most couples think boundaries only count if they look hard. Cold voice, detached energy, closed body language. Like strength has to become emotional distance in order to be real. But that's not maturity. That's just pain wearing expensive clothes. The deepest truth is this. The boundary that breaks an avoidance ego is not icy. It's grounded. It says, I can care about you without abandoning myself for you. That is powerful because it refuses both extremes. You are not clinging. You are not punishing. You are not disappearing to be chased. You are becoming emotionally available to yourself first. And honestly, that changes everything. Because warmth without self-betrayal is rare. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Whatever, do what you want. I'm done caring. That sounds strong, but beneath the surface, it's usually wounded protest. The connecting version sounds like this. I care about you. I'm open to building something real, but I'm not available for closeness only on your terms. If we're doing this, it has to include consistency, honesty, and repair. That is the boundary, right there. Not a trick, not a tactic, not a communication hack. This is just what emotionally mature love looks like when someone has learned to stay kind without losing themselves in the process. And when you do that, something profound happens. Even if they don't rise to meet you, you do. And that's the shift that turns your relationship with love itself into a refuge instead of a fight for scraps. So if you really take this in, this is not about becoming harder to love. It's about becoming harder to misuse. This isn't a checklist. It's an identity shift. You stop being the person who confuses longing with loyalty, chemistry with safety, and patience with self-abandonment. You become someone who can stay warm, stay open, stay present, and still tell the truth about what you will and will not participate in. And your partner will feel that difference before you even explain it. Because presence changes the room, boundaries change the pattern, and self-respect changes what kind of love you're finally available for. Here's the mic drop truth. The moment you stop chasing connection at the cost of yourself is the moment love finally has a chance to become real. If this hit you, drop "I stop chasing" in the comments. And if you want more videos like this on avoidant attachment, emotional safety, and how to build a relationship that actually feels like home, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.